Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming onto this call. And today we have the honor of having a special friend of mine, Howie.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for taking out your time to come. So today's call will be a bit different from what we have been talking about. That is mainly for tutors. But I think today we can actually broaden up the scope for educators that involve not just tutors who teach like primary school subjects or school subjects, but it can be also be for any educator who is teaching. So as long as you're teaching in a property niche, in the financial niche, as long as you're teaching anybody, this call I think will be helpful for you. And I hope that it can inspire you and give you some insights on how to design your business model to make it light and easy for you so that you can truly live your purpose and inspire all the students that you want to inspire. So probably, Howie, for a start, maybe just share with us what you do and then I'll just pass it to you to see where you want to go.
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Howie. And I'll start by sharing that a year ago, I was diagnosed with end-stage kidney failure. I just had my transplant in December 2024. Throughout the entire period, I was down and I didn't have time to do anything in my life, let alone work, let alone spend time with my family. I only have 1 hour of time every single day. And with that came the revelation that I need to make full use of this time per day. Firstly, to sustain my own health. Secondly, to sustain my income. And thirdly, also to make sure that I still have some sort of energy to spend with my wife and my child, and even my parents as well. I was lucky enough to find a partner for my business, but that's not everything that it is. What helped me to tide through this time was actually being able to invest my money. During this time, I've been investing for a long time. And from then till now, what happened was during my entrepreneurship journey, my investments have actually been the pillar and the stronghold of my income and wealth. So even though I have ups and downs times during entrepreneurship, even on my health, my investments help me to sustain myself. So I would say that I hope that this sharing today can help people firstly think about how can you best protect yourself in terms of your financial life. And also at the same time, I understand that a lot of you are also keen to understand how to productize and how we structured the course that I'm teaching right now. I'm teaching investments, by the way, stock investing. So how we actually structure this is actually coming from the angle of how can we best help the students, right? I used to be I'm still a digital marketer, right? So what I've learned as a marketer from the start of my career until now has drastically changed, right? And perhaps we can talk about this a little bit more as we go on, but I hope that gives a good context as to why this might be useful for educators, because I find that a lot of people, especially coaches, trainers, educators, a lot of times we think about marketing, we think about, I need to exaggerate, I need to sell. But here's the thing, because in the investment niche, it is highly regulated. So for us, if you want to talk about money, or if we say anything that amounts to something like a promise, right, it can be very tricky for us. So likewise, in whatever niche that you're in or whatever industry that you're in, you might want to consider the type of compliance that might be involved in what you share. At the same time, how can you make a claim, so to speak, without actually claiming it?
Yeah, I think before you go, I love what you have just shared. I think I also want to put up a disclaimer. For those who are watching, this is not a stock investment session to share with you what stock to buy. I think the idea here is really to look at the insights that Howie has shared in terms of building his business. And I think as much as I understand that he has gone through a journey related to his health, but I think there is also a awakening for myself that all of us one day may fall, and touch wood. So I think got to prepare for the days and also make sure that our family needs still be met if things go south. So I thought it's something that I want to just share with the audience.
More importantly is that right now, I can't conduct any classes that are physical. So what I've done is actually digitize what I do, and whatever I sell does not require me to be physically present. So I make use of channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, now X, right? And also Threads. At the same time, I'm also running Facebook ads to get the word out there. But on the product side of things, it comes in the form of recording the course and also writing down the syllabus in such a way that it is easy for the person to consume, so that when they go into a membership portal, they are able to self-pace their own learning. And
can you elaborate more on, because I know that to just share and to record whatever we know is easy, but I think what I like about your videos is, okay, I'm also Howie's client. I bought his courses, 2 of his courses.
Thank you.
And the reason why I bought it is because actually there are many investment courses out there, but what I like about your videos is that it's very simple. And I think simplicity is underrated, because yours is really going down to the essence. And I thought this is so easy for me to understand, and having no financial education as my background. So how do you do it to make it simple? Or what the thought process in making it simple for the audience to consume?
I think a couple of things. One is in terms of the syllabus, we really sit down and think about how best we can do it or phrase it in such a way that it's easier for the end user to understand it. It doesn't mean that we are experts in our field. It means that we can teach, right? You might be very good at English, you might be very good at science, you might be very good at selling a property, right? But to actually transfer that knowledge to your brain and download it to somebody else's brain, it needs to be re-encoded. And after we re-encode it, it goes through a process of distillation. Okay, it's like when we write content, right? You regurgitate everything out, right? And then you do subtraction from there. So it actually goes through a longer process than what you actually see. So it's like just now John mentioned, right? Half an hour of video takes me 2 hours to produce, right? So this is true because people don't see the back end work, but it's the back end work that creates the impact for your audience. So for us, what motivates us, seeing that person going, wow, I understand this. Sometimes in the past, I can understand there are some friends who get very frustrated if people don't understand what they are sharing. And it's very easy to brush off people as saying, oh, they don't know anything. It is very true. And that's the reason why they come to us, because they are at a stage where they don't understand anything yet. So in that sense, whenever I communicate anything to my audience, I will stop and think about whether this is jargon or is there a way that I can phrase it that can be more simple. For example, recently there's some stock market news. The stock market has been going pretty high. So in order for me to explain the whole theory of why we think that there might be a short-term pullback soon, I dumb it down to language that a 13-year-old can understand. Some people, if you have read about marketing, talk about the 5-year-old. For me, I talk about how a 13-year-old can understand, because a 13-year-old is someone who can understand a little bit more complexity in the concepts, but still not at the level where they are super proficient technical terms, reducing that into everyday language or using stories to convey your message. All right. And this is something that you can also think about as well. Using analogies to communicate your message across to your audience, that'll be a lot easier to say. So for example, if you want to communicate why prices of different properties are different, so you might want to use an analogy of, like, for example, if I want to explain it to my 6-year-old, I will say, okay, if you want to sell this toy, you might want to see how people around you are selling, right? How much they are selling it at. And then you will be able to get a sensing of how much you want to sell this toy, right? And then that's how it relates back to property as well. Because in a very simple sense, and I'm not an expert in that field, but in a very, very simple sense, one way of how a property is priced is also the area. If the properties in the areas are priced in a certain way, chances are that property is also going to arrive at that price point at a certain point of time as well. That gives also a certain explanation on how to phrase things simply. And in terms of how I structure the back end, I tend to look for a platform that provides me with what I want, instead of going through and see, okay, what is already out there in the market. I tend to try to think of, okay, firstly, what is it that I want to create and what do I need to portray? So for me, I use a very simple platform called Thrivecart. And why we actually use that is because it allows us to pay one time, and there's no need for us to continue paying on an ongoing basis. So for us, using a platform like this allows us to then also translate that savings back to our consumers. Because John has become a client of ours, you may realize that as compared to other course providers, we actually give lifetime pricing. So you buy one time and you can access the course for life. And at the same time, we also conduct coaching sessions every month, and people don't have to pay extra for those kind of things. Right? Our cost is actually minimal. The only cost that we have is actually just the Zoom. And then otherwise, the upfront cost has already been paid up. The recording is done, but our hosting is also not using an expensive hosting at this point.
Probably just to, because there are some people here who are educators and they may not be familiar with the terms. So how we say the back end, I think what we are trying to say here are the structures of the platforms. Yeah, to make it relatable to you, we need a house to hold all this information and also for people to access. And Thrivecart is,
we call it a learning management system. It's called LMS for short. So what happens is it's actually a portal where you upload your program into, and your members, when they buy your course, they can go in to access the videos. So that's where the videos, if you have any PDFs, you also upload it there. And if you have any other links, that's where the membership portal is hosted on. So let's say you buy a course online. If any of you have bought a course before, where you access those is called the LMS, and Thrivecart is one of them. So usually this kind of learning management system, they come with a payment processor. Also, usually it's integrated with very popular processors like Stripe or PayPal, and the payment is automated. Why this is very useful is that people can pay in any currency, right? I have students from Europe. They pay through the same portal, and then the exchange rate is actually converted back into dollars for us. So currency we charge in US dollars, and people from Singapore, from Europe, they can all buy from that single portal, the single link. And after they buy, the portal will automatically send an email to them on how to access the membership portal. So they will receive the login, the user ID, the password. All these I don't have to set up myself. The platform itself will automatically send it to them already. So once they sign up, they will receive this. And then I'll receive a notification on my phone saying that, okay, John Yeo has purchased this whatsoever. So then after that, what I personally do is I follow up with this person, right? And then say, thank you for joining the class. I will add you to the Facebook group. So we actually have a Facebook group where people come in to be part of a community, right? So right now the community is still in the early stages. Most of the discussions over there are announcements. So what we do is we will announce any sort of calls, meetings, just like for John, he has a WhatsApp group. For us, we do it on a Facebook group. So why we do it on Facebook group is because it's easier for us to share media or information that is easily searchable. So if I share a certain theory on the platform, I can include an image, then an explanation on the description of Facebook, right? How many of you familiar with Facebook here? Just make sure. You know all Facebook.
If Facebook, that means they are younger than me.
Sometimes I lose count of calls. I'm very afraid. Like when people are looking at me like no reaction, I really wonder whether I'm saying things or sharing things that they actually are familiar with or they're not. Sometimes if I do check back with you, do me a favor, I respond a bit.
Just to add in, if let's say next time you're doing for teenagers, if you say Facebook, you'll say that Facebook is for old people. That's what my younger said. Facebook is for old people.
Yeah. You can share Instagram, you can share TikTok, whatsoever. But the reason why I use Facebook is because it has the group function. Instagram doesn't have an Instagram group. It doesn't have a community function. So that's still the main point of using Facebook. I do have some clients who tell me, yeah, I still don't have. And I think he's 50, 60 years old already. So he said, I don't have a Facebook account, right? So what do? I have to ask him to sign up and then be part of it. Why? On Facebook, I can also tag the person. And at the same time, people can comment on each other's posts. So it's a lot more interactive that way. And then if they have any questions, it will be tagged to that specific post. So it's more easy for us to understand the context of what their question is about. Instead of a chat group like Telegram or WhatsApp, those have their advantages. For us, we prefer something that is more contextual. So if you ask a question based on what I just shared, for example, what I just shared yesterday about the stock market, right? I use my own example. Or whatever I just shared yesterday about stock market, all right, it's all here. Whatever I share about the economy, right, it's all here. You ask your questions around here, right? So whatever I share about like maybe math and science, all right, so it's all here.
Yeah, I want to just zoom in before we can talk about other stuff is because I thought there's a lot of details being shared about the business and how you run it. And if we don't extract it, it may be missed. Yeah, I think the idea here about current business model is whatever you do, always look at how to build a community behind. Yeah, why is because with a lot of spam and scam, people are looking at authenticity, what are the real people behind, and nothing beats going back to how human beings connect with each other, which is getting to know each other, meeting and say hi and shaking hands and looking them into the eyes and knowing that that person is real. Yeah, so for the audience here, what I want to, can I say challenge you, is that whatever business you are in, be it the young kids to the older people like me, yeah, look at how you can build a tribe behind. Yeah, it need not be something that you have to look at it, work on it every week, but maybe a quarterly basis, getting people together to mingle.
And I think just to elaborate on the community part, what I try to do is use it as a platform to share my thinking, or rather my mental model. Why I say that is because if you compare yourself to other people in your industry, you're a tutor, right? There's like hundreds and thousands of tutors out there. Then if you're a property investment trainer, there are also other courses out there. For us, we also have a lot of stock market investor trainers out there as well. But the way that I share my knowledge, the way that I interpret the market out there, and the way that I explain it, if you resonate with how I say it, you will then be more subscribed to my thinking. And that sharing gives me a platform to connect with you. Because as you continue reading, it gives you a glimpse of who I am as a person, number one. And also it gives you a glimpse of how I think. So you can also assess whether this will be more beneficial for you before you actually buy anything from me. Because all this content is free. I just put it out there. For me right now, I put it out to my Facebook group. I also put it out to the public in terms of my Facebook account. And also I'm sharing on my LinkedIn account as well. I would say that Facebook, a lot of the people who connect with me over there know me personally. Whereas comparatively, the people who connect with me on LinkedIn are more professional, and it's also a platform where people will just connect with each other, even though you don't know that person. I've never met most of the audience in my LinkedIn community. Through my sharing, people connect, people are drawn closer to me. And as they resonate with what I share with them, they will start to become interested in my products. And at the end of the day, I imagine it as a relationship ladder. So you want them to take the first step in consuming your free content. and then they'll take the next step in joining a webinar of yours. So they'll come in to a free call, and you can then share more materials with them and demonstrate your expertise from there. Right? And then during that call itself, after demonstrating your expertise, you can then invite them to say, okay, if you're interested in taking my course, then go ahead. You can find it over here. Right? Because for me, I can tell you that even with my sharing on social media, some people actually started to PM me in the messages saying, hey, do you have a course? Where do I sign up? And stuff like this, even before I had a course. So through this sharing, you actually elicit the interest from your audience. And this is the best way currently to be able to reach a mass audience without having to be physically present in networking sessions. So the community exists in your places before they become your customers, and it also exists after they purchase from you. Because remember that a customer will always be a customer of yours. So once they buy something from you, the relationship changes, right? Why? What changes? The level of trust that they have in you actually changes. Because before I buy anything from you, I don't have to make any decision. If I don't like your content, I just switch off. I just skip to the next content. I'll just scroll on, right? But after I buy your content, it signals that I trust you enough to put my money in you. And then I'm also personally invested in whatever I paid you for. So whenever you share anything, these people will take it more seriously. So in my community, I will share things that I may not share in my free community. I may share the same information for both communities, but in the community, I share more in depth. It's like I will help you to draw the dots, link up from why this is happening versus what is the result of this, right? So then you will get a full explanation of what's going on. And as I was talking to John just now, as you continue to engage your community, the more engaged you are with your community, the more likely they are to continue buying from you, right? All right. For me, that's how we see it, because we have 3 tiers in our course, right? So we have a basic, intermediate, and have done with you kind of thing, one-on-one coaching. How we actually see it, a lot of marketers will tell you, like, you need to think of how to ascend them. For us, we look at how we can then help them better, right? I prefer to look at things as how can I help you to improve your knowledge and abilities, right? And that's why my marketing approach has changed over the years, right? It started with just thinking of how to sell more into more of how can I make this more beneficial for the audience. So with that, I can say that more people are actually likely to upgrade through my course, because people will come in, pay $300. As we teach them more and more, they become more and more proficient at what we taught them. Once they understand what we've taught them, we have a product which they can use to upgrade their skills and get better results from there. Why this is an upgrade is because the more advanced syllabus, if you don't take the basic or beginner syllabus, you will not have the foundation to go to the advanced syllabus. Paying for a one-on-one with us also not help you, because you will be in a totally different mindset from us. You will be taking a lot of your old bad habits and coming into the calls, asking us the wrong questions, which then translate to you wasting your time. For us, we also don't feel good because you pay us to help you become better at what you want to become better at. We are unable to help you to the maximum that we can. So that's why even for advanced class, if you upgrade to one-on-one coaching, we actually have an interview. We will assess whether this person is suitable or not. And if we find that the person is suitable, we will then continue engaging them a little bit more and see if they might be interested. I wouldn't ask you directly to say that, would you like to join this? Unless I think that you are a very good fit and you are also very interested, then I will offer it to you. But if you're not that interested yet, I may continue to help you to see if you might be interested. If you're not interested, then that's okay too. But if you might come to a point that you are interested in upgrading, then I'll offer that to you and say that with this upgrade, you can then get this extra benefit. What happens with the advanced course, you can get X amount of returns, right? Of course, I don't promise that. You can't promise that under MAS regulations. But at the same time, you know that there's this potential of how much you're able to get back in terms of ROI, right? But when you do a one-on-one with us, you get to accelerate your process. You get to shortcut your learning with us. So that's why for some of the students that we have right now, we actually offer the one-on-one with them, because they have come across as very diligent and very aligned with our values. Because for us in the stock market, if you're not aligned with your values, you can do a lot of things with your money and make losses. So for us, we are also very careful. If you're not truly understood what we taught you, we don't want you to come in to make the mistakes that we already try to address in the course. So we try to make it in such a way that it's upgrade every time. And at the same time, if you upgrade from the basic course to the advanced course, you can roll over that credit. So if you paid $300 for the basic course, you want to go on to the advanced course, you take $300 off the price of that. So you only pay $900 on the advanced course. So that is how we encourage the audience to upgrade theirs as they go.
It sounds to me like it reminded me of if you are in primary 1, you can't go to a primary 3 course. Yeah, so it's really building a ladder of proficiency for the customer and having the interests of customer in mind, and really helping the customer to grow, not just coming to learn to get the results of your program, but also grow as a person. That's what I'm hearing also. Yeah, so I think that is also something that I'm very aligned with and something that I also do within my circle of clients as well. Yeah. Could you also share how do you price? I understand that your first tier is 3 figures, the second tier is 4 figures, then the third tier is 5 figures. Yeah, but I think could you also as to share also framework that educators can use, be for the education market in Singapore as well as the wealth niche or personal development niche?
Okay, when it comes to pricing for this product in particular, I look at how, firstly, the basic product needs to be accessible to the mass market. It needs to be an impulse buy for people. So if I price it at something like $1,000 upfront, it will not be impulsive, right? But if it's only a few $100s, chances are you may just think that it may also help you to feel like, okay, this is okay, even if it doesn't turn out right. Yeah. Of course, I don't want you to think that way. But for the audience, if you're looking at this, you might be also thinking to yourself like, hey, you know what? It's not that much of a risk for me, right? It doesn't feel like I'm jumping from this to this and then having no parachute, like trying to jump off the cliff without a parachute. Instead of that, I try to price it as accessible as possible. So that's why $300 is relatively easy pricing for a Singaporean market, right? When it comes to the advanced course, right? Actually, currently we are still pricing it on the low end because a full-fledged course like this can be priced as much as $4,000.
Yep.
But why we price it at 1,000 is because we look at the ROI that they get, right? So this is value-based pricing strategy. So when we look at, okay, after you have invested with us, the type of people that we want to attract is people who are everyday investors. We're not trying to attract millionaires. Of course, if you're a millionaire, you want to join our course, you're most welcome to. But I would say that we want to cater to everyday investors who have no experience at all. So you may have a lot of savings, but you may not be privy how to invest at this point of time. Then we want you to be able to, number one, after you invested in your course, you can make back easily from it, right? So I would say that this is more applicable if you're offering a money-making course which is wealth-related or creating a coaching course, teaching people how to become a coach or a trainer, right? This type of pricing would be useful for you. Whereas a tutor or you're offering something like in a personal development niche, you have to look at the transformation of the from this point to this point. I am looking to help you to transform your child. B point, what? Do they become more interested in learning math? Do they get more interested in learning Chinese? From not interested to very interested, from not confident to confident, right? So how do we then communicate that transformation from this point to this point, right? The audience need to see the journey, right? How do I help you to walk your child from this point, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, then step 5, where you reach B. Then from B, how do I then help him to upgrade from B all the way to the next point, right? So for personal transformation, for personal development, you want to look at how then the person will transform, right? From there, I will come up with a pricing for that. But at the same time, I would say that in a niche that if it's not that well quantifiable, right? Because it's a qualitative type of industry, I tend to look at the market pricing as well first, right? So if I look at the market pricing, I try not to outprice the market too much as an entrant. If I'm an, I prefer to price the product on the lower end first, then slowly increase as you go by. Why I say that is because if I start at the high end and nobody comes, I reduce it. Imagine the people who buy at the high end, they will be like, oh, just overpay for something, right? Even if I sell it to you, you probably also feel the same way. So for us, we try to price it at the low end first, then we slowly increase the price. So when we started, we priced the advanced course at $1,000, right? And then as time went by, we actually increased it to $1,200. So as time goes by, we'll slowly increase until a certain stage we find that, okay, this is enough for us. And how we decide that depends on how the market reacts to the price. Because you need to look at it as a whole, right? When we look at the market, it is a collective action. If I increase it this level and nobody buys it anymore, you don't want to hit that point. You want to hit a certain point where you feel like, okay, this is almost a tension point already. People will start to show already. Then from there, you start to add more value. You start to add extras to help them ease off their buying tension so that they will be able to make the decision quickly. Right? So one of the other things that we try to remove the risk for people is we have this thing called refund policy for us. We make use of a 15-day refund policy. If you find that this is not beneficial for you, within 15 days, I can give you the refund because for us, it's a digital course. So if you come in, you check out the course, you find that it's not suitable for you, you can write us, no questions asked, we'll return you your money, right? But at the same time, we are very confident of what we deliver. This is something that you can test out, not to put it up front as a selling point right away. I would say that this is more like a supporting element in terms of how you price, because sometimes for certain niches, you want to give a refund. Certain niches, you might find that if I give that kind of refund, or maybe my pricing is already so low, you want me to give a refund pricing, my margin won't be enough. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're getting a margin squeeze and you're always afraid whether somebody's going to refund you or not. If you find that it's not suitable for you, do not offer that refund policy.
I love almost everything you say, and then I think I'm learning a lot of things as well. One of the things I learned is also to test the market, and I learned the part whereby you increase the price and then you feel the tension. And I have a question about the ROI. How do you set the price based on the potential ROI that your client is getting?
For us, it's very specific because we see a lot of our students, when they go into our Accelerate course, they can earn somewhere between 20 to 30% per annum on average over a course of as much as 6 years. So with that, if you have a $10,000 portfolio, if you invest in it, you actually make back quite easily. If you make even a 10% return on your investment, you already make back. So that's actually quite simple for us. I would say that a wealth creation or property investment course is also very easy for you to make use of that. If you buy this property and sell it at this price, based on the method we just taught you, you already make back your course fee. The point here is to be able to illustrate how easily they can actually achieve it. But at the same time, you're not legally allowed to say ROI. In fact, promising any form of ROI, because every investment has a risk. But for us, we look at the probability, right? If the person comes in, there's a very high chance that they can earn this amount of money, and how we actually ease up their learning process. So we're actually very confident, because when people come into our course, they find it very easy to learn. They find that, okay, as John has shared just now, they find it very simple, very easy to learn, very easy to execute. And then we also make it a point that after you consume the digital course, you do a one-on-one with us, and we make sure that you make an investment from there. Or we ensure that you execute on your learnings from there. So from there, you already know that, okay, you're going to take some sort of action after taking a course with us. So likewise for you, right? If you are doing a personal development course, if you're a coach, you're a trainer, you might want to think of how can you then get your client to take action after your course. Because one of the biggest problems that course creators have is consumption of their course. If people don't consume your course, they won't see the value. If they don't see the value, they will succeed, number one. Number two, they won't be able to also upgrade themselves anyway. They won't buy any more things from you if they don't consume your course and see the value from that.
This sounds really familiar to tutors, and it's like chasing our kids to do homework. Okay, I think one last thing before we do a wrap up is how do you on the pricing of the third tier? I understand that we have 2 tiers now. Then sometimes going to third tier is something that may be unfamiliar for most educators because we have marketing background, but most people don't have. So when should they decide if they should add in a third tier? And how do you design?
I would say that the way you segregate is by the distance from. In your earlier tiers, you are one to many. Take it from the free stage. The free stage, one to many in digital format. So it's highly scalable. Then you move on to lower tiers. It is one to many, but in video form, because we do group coaching. Then as it comes closer to a one-on-one, that's where you would then increase your price because it will require more of your time. So that's how I look at it. If you're doing a wealth creation course, you want to then look at how, again, it is ROI pricing, right? Because if you join our one-on-one coaching session, we will require to have a minimum of $100,000 in portfolio size. Because then if you make back at least 10 to 12% of your investment, you will be able to then easily make back your money and break even from this at least. And it's very easy for us because even if you just take the basic course, you will be able to break even already. So a single technique that we share would already help you to break even for that. So similarly, let's say an investment course in the property niche. If you are trying to sell a property, right, after you buy one, you need to negotiate. You need to look for the correct location. You need to look for a correct type of property. You need to do different things, all right, to do your due diligence, right? All these things requires some sort of walkthrough. If you don't, then you will likely be slowed down from doing this. So likewise, if you are a tutor and you offer something that's one-on-one for the students, right, it takes out a lot of your time and it allows you to then walk that student from point A to point B every single step of the way, right? So if I'm able to walk you every single step of the way, I would then just think about the amount of effort from there also, right? So from there, I would then, of course, charge more for a one-on-one session. Very straightforward for wealth creation. Throughout all this, I can pretty much say that, right, this will cut short your investment journey by at least a good half a year or even 2 or 3 years, right? So if I cut short that, imagine the amount that you make. If let's say each investment can net you, let's say 10% per annum or 20% per annum, right? You will already gain back at least 40%. And it's not even 40% because 20% compounded per year is actually more, right? For wealth creation, it's very straightforward. For Anything that's qualitative, for example, if you're a tutor, if you're a personal development coach, then you want to look at the amount of time that you will need to invest in this person. And from there, you want to then, it's about how you communicate it to the person. So it's not about the time that you spend, right? Because I would say that the time I spend on a single client may vary. Certain clients require me to do some homework, right? Like back then I used to do business coaching, right? So I coach people how to increase their efficiency in their business. I also teach them on how to scale their business. So increasing efficiency is also very qualitative. So how do I then price my one-on-one with them, right? For that kind of pricing, you cannot go by value-based. You cannot go by ROI-based. You need to go by, okay, how can I then help you to, why me spending more time with you helps you to shorten that journey? Just now I talk about going from point A to point B, right? In the basic format, you maybe take 5 steps in between. So if they're in the 5 steps, if you do it by yourself, you maybe take half a year to complete. But if I walk with you, it will shorten your journey drastically, and maybe you'll arrive at your destination in just 1 month. So with that time saved, imagine how much more you can achieve from there. How much more can you then do? How much more free time your child can have? How much more of an easy journey your child will have if he does a one-on-one with you? If you're a creation coach, think about how that would help your audience save the time. If you're a personal development coach, right, you also want to think of like, how can you then, how is that a greater impact for them? So it's all about the communication from how you can impact them, right? It's not so much about how much time you spend on them. Some people may require you to do a bit more homework. Some people may not necessarily require, because if the client has a very similar background as you, then all you have to do is just share your experience. But if the person does not have the same background as you, you may have to do some research beforehand. And with that, that will also add up to your hours. So I wouldn't say look at your per hour pricing, but I would look at the transformation and how I'm able to help you, how much time I actually help you to save to make that transformation, to do the one-on-one.
And as the saying goes, time is money. Yeah. Howie, thanks so much for sharing so much. Actually, for me, I also learned a lot. And I'm sure that if given more time, we can go on for another 1 hour or two. So if the audience wants to connect with you, where can they reach you?
Oh, you can connect with me in LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/thehowietan, or in Instagram, you can also add me. Also on Facebook, okay, I'm a boomer. You can also search Howie Tan. So I'm actually on most social media platforms. Even if you use Lemonade, I'm also on there as well. So just search the Howie Tan, you will get me on social media.
For those who are interested in Howie's investment course, again, it's just an invitation. If you think that you're interested in what he's doing, there's a link in the description in the video below, and then just click it and connect with him to find out more and then to do your due diligence before you sign up for any course. So much for coming today. I really learned a lot as well.
Thank you, John. Thanks to all the attendees as well.